Hey folks, a word from one of our sponsors that I have been enjoying this morning. You can see it here. Beautiful Day Granola. Beautiful Day shines as a Providence-based social enterprise with a unique mission of providing comprehensive paid job training to refugees who are involved in every step of making their award-winning gourmet granola. It's phenomenal. I couldn't even help myself. I cracked it open this morning and I had some. Proudly made for you by refugees. It tells you right there on the label. This is the Beautiful Day Ginger Zinger granola. Got me some protein. Got me started today. It's really, really good. And they run 4 paid training programs, job training for adults, internship programs for youth 15 to 18 with community partners, entrepreneurship training for Afghan women interested in starting food businesses, management training for refugees interested in learning customer service and sales skills by managing one of our farmers' markets. Job training programs further their mission of connecting refugees to their communities through business, job training, and education. The refugees come from all around the world: Syria, Ukraine, Afghanistan, Congo, Myanmar, Somalia, Iraq, etc. Even though they speak different languages, their granola chef, originally from Iraq, helps the refugees go beyond language barriers by fostering teamwork, building confidence while making granola and learning English. Their program is 350 hours, approximately 3.5 months. They also help them pursue further education, get job placement, or start their own businesses. These delicious handmade granola is made from premium organic grains, seeds, nuts, dried fruit, and spices, no preservatives. Binding all this goodness together is local honey and pride and the spirit of newcomers rebuilding their lives. What sets this granola apart is that it's designed for snacking. The sizable chunks are flavorful, and they can also be enjoyed with milk. Maybe I'm going to do that next. There are 4 standard flavors: Keith's Original Pistachio, Cardamom, Mochaccino Hazelnut, and Ginger Zinger, which is what I have right there. We also have Specialty Granola of the Month, and this month is Cherry Chocolate. 3 muesli flavors are also available: breakfast muesli, ginger zinger muesli, and the vegan super oatmeal muesli. They can also be enjoyed with yogurt, served warm with milk, or enjoyed straight out of the package, as well as high protein fiber bars in 6 flavors: Keith's Original, Bananas Foster, Mochaccino Hazelnut, Pistachio Cardamom, Salted Mango, and Bourbon Pecan. For ordering, visit beautifuldayri.org. And so, as you can see on the packaging, it has the mission statement right as you open the bag or bar, proudly made for you by refugees. Beautiful Day is offering free shipping for all Majority Report listeners when you go to beautifuldayri.org and use code MAJORITY, all caps, at checkout until March 7th. That's beautifuldayri.org. Use code MAJORITY, all caps, at checkout until March 7th. And now a word from one of our other favorite sponsors, Sunset Lake Seder. Right now, there's a sale. 35% off all Seder edibles with code VALENTINE. You want to relax with your partner? Valentine's Day is almost here. You don't want to loosen them up? Sunset Lake Seder is perfect for that. Ditch the sampler box of chocolates and surprise your partner with something truly special. Delicious Seder-infused treats from Sunset Lake Seder. Not only are Sunset Lake's edible Seder products irresistibly tasty, they're also perfect for setting the mood, whether you're unwinding together, ooh la la, laughing along to your favorite rom-com, or drifting off into a blissful sleep. And if you're flying solo this year, treat yourself to something nice. You deserve it. Right now, you can save 35% off on all Sunset Lake's edibles when you check out with code VALENTINE. That includes all single products and some bundles. I was out of the sleep gummies, and I had them last night. My sleep was much better than previous nights. I had missed them. Sunset Lake, I can't speak more highly about the quality of their Seder. As I say every time, there's a lot of junk out there. That's not Sunset Lake. They use regenerative farming practices, and they're also movement partners. They partner with us on different fundraisers, refugee resettlement, Planned Parenthood, and other causes that you can feel good about. Skip the stress of shopping for your Valentine and head over to sunsetlakesebede.com. Use code VALENTINE to save 35% on edibles. This sale ends Friday 9th at midnight. See their site for additional terms and conditions. And now, time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, February 7th, 2025. My name is Emma Vigeland, in for Sam Seder, and this is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Benjamin Dixon will be with us to talk about this insane week in news. Also on the program today, Project 2025 author Russell Vogt has been approved as OMB director along party lines. But shout out to Brian Schatz, who decided to actually do something and at least filibustered this to draw attention to the extreme agenda. Trump guts USAID, announcing he's firing all but a few hundred agency staff members out of 10,000. A group representing those employees is suing. USAID is the world's largest funder of famine relief. $340 million worth of food, 500,000 tons, is currently in limbo, and folks don't know what to do with it, working on USAID. American farms also will be hurt by this. They supply 41% of food aid to the agency. They're raising the alarm. Trump turns his attention to thousands of Health and Human Services employees as their next target to cut. New Attorney General Pam Bondi ends a long-standing law enforcement effort to combat secret influence campaigns from foreign governments. You know, she was a foreign lobbyist herself for Qatar. Just a coincidence.
Business is open.
For the second time this week, a federal judge has halted Trump's unconstitutional executive order declaring an end to part of our Constitution, birthright citizenship. Can't do that. Can't just say, it's over, sorry, via executive order. At least I hope he can't.
Got the Supreme Court on his side. You can't do a lot of things.
But ICE reportedly has detained a middle school teacher in Florida who was a DACA recipient. More of this is starting. The NCAA bends the knee and bans the less than 10 trans athletes out of 500,000 from playing sports in college. Mike Johnson will announce the Republican budget proposal today, and it's set to include permanent tax cuts for the rich. Republicans set their sights on cutting Medicaid. That's their next frontier. And lastly, Trump sanctions the ICC. Or I guess maybe it's not. Is it a sanction? I wrote that down unclearly. Maybe double check that if you could, Bradley. But issues an executive order at least targeting the ICC because their war crimes investigations against Israel. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Casual Friday, but Sam is not in. He's not feeling well. Turns out those Wednesday hiccups were a bit of a canary in the coal mine, and he is sick. So, lots of stuff going around right now. We've had multiple guests sick this week as well, so stay safe, mask up, take your vitamins, do your best.
One note on the ICC thing, the sanctions or whatever they decided to do, like, no, ICC, don't call our friends war criminals, even though they obviously are. The famine stuff that's being nixed by U.S. in the U.S. aid thing is also not unrelated to Israel in the sense that they warned about a famine in northern Gaza early last year. So
Yeah, I wrote this down. I mean, it's people just don't understand the scope of this kind of thing. The U.S., despite being, yes, an imperial power, is the world's largest funder of famine relief worldwide. $64.6 billion has gone towards that in the last 5 years. And in terms of studies, in 2023, 282 million people worldwide were food insecure or experiencing famine, and that, of course, includes the people facing genocide in Gaza.
Yeah, and you can look into America's like control of the world for maybe creating some of those conditions that they have to ameliorate with U.S. aid. You can look at Marco Rubio 8 or so years ago saying, look, it's hard to radicalize against Americans when Americans kept you fed. So our motives are, are kind of clear, and I think people have a suitable amount of cynicism about it. Pulling people off of these sorts of programs that ameliorate this, and frankly just allow like hundreds of thousands of people, maybe more, that are facing either like disease or famine that has been staved off by these programs, just left to fend for themselves, probably going to have some kind of negative effect in addition to just the brutality of each of those individual lives.
And I headlined this yesterday, but these U.S. aid cuts also affect HIV medication that's either treating AIDS or going towards HIV prevention. 20 million people worldwide rely on those programs, including 500,000 children. And as Matt says, there's a self-interest involved here too, whereas, and Elon Omar made this point in her speech that we played, how do we want the rest of the world to interact with the United States? Through just brute military force and violence, which is how we've chosen to continue to escalate our international policy choices over the past few decades. It gets worse and worse, it seems, every 10 years.
That's the scary thing about Gaza. Did we just decide in the bipartisan almost fashion that kind of stuff about America's reputation in the world,
soft power,
less important than the fact that we got all these aircraft carriers and missiles? And
military contractors, they need to get paid, folks, including, you know who's one of the top military contractors? A man named Elon Musk, who this morning, I have him muted on Twitter, but somehow this slipped through. This dude has like generational daddy issues. He tweeted, I love @real Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. It's not a stretch to look at this and see how, Elon Musk's father repeatedly publicly saying how he isn't proud of his son may have affected this total sociopath psyche. But the guy him and his gremlins are still at it. They've been picking apart at our Treasury payment system, which controls over $6 billion in payments and has control over a fifth of the United States economy. And yesterday, the Wall Street Journal broke a piece showing that one of these staffers, it's a bunch of like basically interns with Peter Thiel and Elon Musk associations, that he brought this group in to pick apart our like most sensitive information in the Treasury. And turns out, what do you know? He's a total racist. Doge staffer resigns over racist posts. The Wall Street Journal broke last night. A key Doge staff member who gained access to the Treasury Department's central payment system resigned Thursday after he was linked to a deleted social media account that advocated racism and eugenics. We've been sounding the alarm on Elon Musk's natalism and how connected that is to eugenics and racial supremacy via genes, how they speak about it. Now we have one of his staffers reflecting that worldview. Marco Ella is a 25-year-old who is a part of a cadre of Elon Musk lieutenants deployed by the Department of Government Efficiency it's not a real department. These are people that are coming in from the outside and picking apart our federal government. To scrutinize federal spending, resigned after the Wall Street Journal asked the White House about his connection to the account. Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool, the account posted in July, according to the Journal's review of archived posts.
Still not cool, you little twerp.
I saw the photos of these guys. Not cool. You could not pay me to marry outside my ethnicity, the account wrote on X in September. Normalize Indian hate, the account wrote in the same month in reference to a post noting the prevalence of people from India and Silicon Valley. After the Journal inquired about the account, of White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said that Elez had resigned from the role. And
empty fucking life.
Completely. There's more. People can look into it. It's just egregious, disgusting. Of course, expected. I mean, the guy did a Nazi salute at the inauguration and then spoke at a far-right German party rally and said that they should not feel guilt anymore about Germany's past. I mean, what we know what this guy's ideology is. And there were some questions about whether or not this particular staffer had access to the Treasury. So publicly, the administration was saying, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. But Wired reported, JK, he actually did. The U.S. Treasury claimed Doge technologists didn't have right access when he actually did. Could scroll down a bit here.
Shouldn't have had read access either.
Right. U.S. Treasury Department and White House officials have repeatedly denied that technologists associated with Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency had the ability to rewrite the code of the payment system through which the vast majority of federal spending flows. Wired reporting shows, however, that at the time these statements were made, a Doge operative did in fact have right access. Not only that, but sources tell Wired that at least one note was added to Treasury records indicating that he no longer had right access before senior IT staff stated it was actually rescinded. Marco Ellis, a 25-year-old Doge technologist, was recently installed at the Treasury Department as a special government employee, one of a number of young men identified by Wired, blah, blah, blah. So they're saying publicly that he didn't have access, when in reality, and by the way, Wired has been doing phenomenal reporting on this. Nathan Tankus as well, essential for the story. But what the Dow tumbled this morning. That's the one thing that could take Donald Trump away from this absolutely insane path that he's going down. And so what they're trying to do is do this in secret. It's why Elon Musk was saying, threatening criminal prosecution for people that publish the identities of these staffers or these interns. So on the one hand, they're claiming there's nothing to worry about. They're just Treasury staffers. But on the other hand, we should make it a criminal penalty to dox them, to say their public information. Now, that's what public servants are supposed to have to engage in. They are supposed to have to be transparent about, their identity. It's kind of a basic core function of what's supposed to be a democratic government. But we don't know what he had access to. I mean, they're going after rewriting air traffic control permissions. They're gutting U.S. aid. The U.S. Treasury payment system, as I've talked about, has our medical information, our social security numbers, our home addresses, our bank information. They do Medicare payments. It's a fifth of the United States economy. This is insane. And unlike in 2016, where there were guys like Reince Priebus and even Rex Tillerson, who they're horrible human beings, but they're more like, I guess, traditional Republicans that want to...
Tillerson stayed in the Iran deal until he was replaced. And then immediately after his replacement, we got out of the Iran deal.
They're more tethered to like the reality that we all share. Everybody now in the administration has been pre-cleared to be a Trump loyalist, including the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who over a dozen Democrats voted for, by the way. Here he is on Fox Business on Wednesday denying that there's anything wrong here.
And Elon Musk's influence on the Treasury, Doge's influence on the Treasury. You're the Treasury Secretary. What can you tell us about this?
Larry, that Elon Musk is the greatest entrepreneur of this generation, and the Doge, outlook and their brief from the president, the Department of Government Efficiency, and we had the Grace Commission. You and I are old enough to remember. You were in the administration. Yep. The Grace Commission in the 80s failed.
Reagan's years.
Yet Bill Clinton, Al Gore set up a commission on government efficiency, failed. And Doge is not going to fail. and that they are moving a lot of people's cheese here in the Capitol, and when you hear this squawking, then some
Can you
so imprecise.
Cheese. What is cheese? You mean the money that is taken out of our paychecks?
I'll point out they haven't actually pointed to any fraud, despite all this insane amount of access they get, and all the people saying, "Oh, why are people opposed to transparency?" Because this isn't transparency. This is simulation.
And the fraud that we do see, we get it from the actuarial reports about the Pentagon, which wastes billions and billions of dollars every single year.
I'm sure they'll get to that. I
Eventually.
I saw somebody tell Elon to do that.
Still working on it. It's down the list of priorities. But, all right, keep going. I had a different thought, but now I'm blanking on it. It'll come back to me.
When you hear this squawking, then some status quo interest is not happy. What I will tell you that at the Treasury, our payment system is not being touched. Everything we process 1.3 billion via payments a year. There's a study being done. Can we have more accountability, more accuracy, more traceability, that the money is going where it is? But in terms of payments being stopped, that is happening upstream at the department level.
All right. Well,
No, keep going.
Essentially, you're saying you're cooperating on this government downsizing with Elon Musk and Doge.
What I'm saying is that at Treasury, our motto is to move deliberately and fix things.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah,
Treasury Secretary Scott.
So it was interesting to see Kudlow's a little shaky there.
Move deliberately, is that like when you have to say, actually, no, we don't have right access? Oh, we do. We might have had a little bit. We don't have it right now, though. That's deliberation. Is it deliberate when you have to say, oh, actually, that executive order didn't mean to go after Medicaid, or it didn't mean to cut off PEPFAR because of people trying to fight HIV and AIDS? Like, that's not deliberate.
Kudlow's nervous because he's the kind of guy that just cares if stock market go up or stock market go down.
Right.
And that's why they are concealing this.
Yes.
It's because they want to do this in secret so they don't spook the markets. Because as I am, I keep saying, as I said, a fifth of the United States economy is being just toyed around with right now by a bunch of intern groypers, 4chaners, and a billionaire in a K-hole. And like there's no, like, they're stealing from us. This is where we have to reorient the conversation. Our tax dollars, Congress has the power of the purse. Through the budget, they determine where our tax dollars are allocated. Then the president signs it, and he has to faithfully implement that. Trump is trying to subvert that core element of our Constitution with his proxy, Elon Musk, who's tinkering around in the pool of money that comes from our tax dollars, where they're trying to cut and not give us what we paid for with our taxes, because the money's already there. And if this is all about efficiency, and you're cutting these programs because they're wasteful, then send us back our tax dollars. Then send it back. But they're not going to do that because they're stealing from us. They're stealing from us. And that's, I think, like, that's what Ilhan Omar was saying too, and that's the better way to describe it.
Well, and like, outside of any dollar amounts, this is just a stealing of democracy. What's the point of voting for representatives if what they decide is just allowed to be ignored because a giant Afrikaner billionaire decides his 25-year-old racists think it's woke? What's the point of voting for even Republicans? You have an entire House and Senate and the presidency, and they're off putting all of this onto him. You could do this. You could pass all this stuff with laws. You could get to you could do big investigations into this stuff and expose it, like the Church Committee, which told us about COINTELPRO and MKUltra and all that stuff. You're not going to do any of that because this is all just about slashing stuff. And ultimately, like, the markets, Besant got through because all the Democrats that voted for him trusted him as like a hedge fund guy, former Soros associate, trusting the markets. But at the very top of this thing, a lot of these people understand that a depression or a huge recession isn't actually so bad because it might mean that they can scoop up a lot of stuff for the cheap.
Yeah, right. And the reason that they wouldn't want that to go through Congress is because that's not what Yarvin tells these tech billionaires. Democracy's too messy. And then that would be democracy.
And then Joni Ernst has to own it a little bit more than just saying, "Oh, I go on, Elon." Mm-hmm. Whereas now you can just say, if he actually does break something and pushes too far, which he will, you can say like, "Oh, Trump shouldn't have put so much trust in that. We're going to revoke his special governmental employee access."
Before we get to Ben, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Nicotine Toothpicks. Zippix brings you a totally satisfying, convenient, and great tasting way to curb your nicotine cravings. Don't you think it's time that you stop putting smoke and vape oils in your lungs? Well, now you can get your nicotine fix anytime, anywhere, without having to rely on smoking or vaping. Zippix Toothpicks gives you an easier, healthier, and more discreet way to get your fix, and they're available in 6 great flavors, and they have the options of 2 milligrams and 3 milligrams of nicotine. They're perfect for flights, sporting events, restaurants, and literally everywhere else that smoking and vaping are banned. They're also one of the most cost-effective nicotine products on the market. Zippix also offers caffeine and B12 infused toothpicks if you're not a nicotine user or if you're just trying to get away from your nicotine habit. Zippix has helped tens of thousands of customers in leading a healthier lifestyle, and if you currently smoke or vape, they can probably help you too. Make your lungs happy and try Zippix nicotine toothpicks. Ditch the cigarettes, ditch the vape, and get some nicotine-infused toothpicks at zippixtoothpicks.com/today. Get 10% off your first order by using the code MAJORITY10 at checkout. Your lungs will be glad that you did. You must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix nicotine toothpicks. That's Zippix, Zippix, toothpicks.com. Go there, get 10% off your first order by using the code MAJORITY10 at checkout. And as I mentioned, you must be 21 or older. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix nicotine toothpicks. And lastly, ever walk into a store and have no idea what kind of wine to get? I mean, me too. I try to act smart, but I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm like, French red? The oak. Sure. Yes. I've stopped wasting time at the grocery store and staring at a giant wall of wine and not knowing what to pick. I love our next sponsor. This is my vice, Naked Wines. This podcast is sponsored by Naked Wines, and it's 2025. Do you still shop for wine like it's 2005? Naked Wines is a service that directly connects you to the world's finest independent winemakers so you can get award-winning wine delivered straight to your door. Use code MAJORITY use our code MAJORITY for the code and password at nakedwines.com and get an incredible deal of 6 bottles for just $39.99. That's amazing. How do they do it? Naked Wines connects winemakers and wine drinkers directly, allowing for vineyards to your door delivery at up to 60% off what you would normally pay in store. By cutting out the traditional retail middlemen costs and markups, winemakers can pass those savings on to you without skimping on quality. Naked Wines has been around for over 15 years and funds over 90 independent winemakers around the world. With no commitments or membership fees, you can enjoy Naked Wines hassle-free. I mean, those independent winemakers, that's key, because there's a lot of these wines that you see are getting bought up by big conglomerates. Naked Wines supports those independent winemakers. And don't forget, you can pause or cancel at any time. So just because you got a trip coming up doesn't mean you can't enjoy Naked Wines before or after that much-needed vacation. Now is the time to join the Naked Wines community. Head to nakedwines.com/majority and click enter voucher and put in our code MAJORITY for both the code and password for 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99 with shipping included. That's $100 off your first 6 bottles at nakedwines.com/majority and use the code and password MAJORITY for 6 bottles of wine for $39.99. All right, folks, quick break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Ben Dixon. We are back, and we are joined once again by our friend. It's been a while, Benjamin Dixon, host of the Benjamin Dixon Show on YouTube. Ben, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. It's good to be back with the Majority Report.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Sorry, Sam's sick today. Otherwise, we would have it would have been the three of us. But we have plenty to talk about, just us. You put this out on social media, and I just think this is exactly the right call to action right now, urging federal workers not to resign, and not to take this like fake buyout deal that Musk and Doge, I mean, I hate even saying it every time, it's so stupid, that they've been offering to folks. Explain why you just think this is so important that federal workers don't take him up on this.
Right. It's so important because just think about the levers and the pulleys that are necessary for this empire, call it for what it is, for it to function, for it to work, just for this machine to operate, and for federal workers to essentially take the buyout, because MAGA understands unless they buy out, unless they resign and take the severance package, they cannot forcibly remove all of those federal employees without a mountain of litigation. And so our biggest and our strongest defense against MAGA right now is for federal workers to not resign. Do not step down. Stay in your position. Document everything. Document their incompetence. We know that they're not qualified. MAGA is not qualified to do the job. They won't be able to get the mail delivered on time. They won't be able to, your tax refunds won't come on time. Let's be real. The real functioning and mechanisms of the federal agencies are in the hands of professionals, civil servants. And if they resign, then it's open season for MAGA's fascism.
And exactly, right? Like, I mean, it's a different situation than when, say, people in the State Department were resigning to protest the Biden administration's genocide in Gaza. And that was because it was clear that they could no longer do anything really internally, as they'd been working on those internal mechanisms and raising the alarm. Yes. But for this government, this Project 2025 far right attempt to dismantle our administrative state and really the functioning of our government, just having bodies in those positions is an act of resistance. Absolutely. Emma, you couldn't have said it better. Having bodies in those positions, number one, prevents them from putting an incompetent MAGA Trump loyalist in that position. And really, I'm sharing this with your audience because we're the ones that we have to spread the word, right? We really need audience members to participate, to spread this word to every federal employee. Listen, they already know their jobs are important. We need to reaffirm that your federal job as a civil servant is critical. And if it is an empty seat, then that gives MAGA the opportunity to put, one, someone incompetent in there, but then two, someone who will expedite and facilitate fascism even quicker. And the report, we just went through this Wall Street Journal report about that Doge worker who's basically a 4chan Nazi poster, just digging through the Treasury system that has all of our social security numbers, our medical information, our home addresses. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can think of the hypocrisy of the conservatives saying that they're against these unelected bureaucrats making decisions. Right. And then using a billionaire.
Obama's ours.
Right. Like the richest man on earth. Exactly. And his little Groyper buddies to just go in within the first few weeks and attack our federal government. I mean, of course, the way that they talk about bureaucrats is so bad faith. It's just like a way to not look up at the billionaires, look at government employees as if that's the real problem. But this is what it really means to have unelected people with no accountability, basically trying to corrupt our government for their own ends. Absolutely, Emma. Absolutely. And I think this is another opportunity. If there are people in our audiences, in our chats right now, who can file lawsuits of any type regarding this specific issue,
because this is a class action lawsuit waiting to happen. Even if we don't have jurisdiction, even if it gets turned down, it is the process itself. We need everyone to complain at every level that they can complain. And if you have the capacity to actually file a lawsuit, if you represent any type of law firm, any type of litigation agency, organization, this is the perfect place to strike, because they should not have access to our critical information. Number one, unqualified. Number two, unselected by the American people. And number three, did they even get security clearances? And number four, did they take an oath to the Constitution, or are they there on behalf of Elon Musk?
Exactly. We're actually getting some IMs right now from federal workers. Coop writes in, federal worker here, all unions are in solidarity telling employees not to take the deal. The only possible scenario where it may make sense is for people who are going to retire this year anyway. Mortified Penguin says, love you, Ben. Really appreciate you looking out for all of us federal workers. I will add, federal workers should download all employment files called OPF and print or send them to a personal device. Hold the line, don't resign. What's your reaction to that?
I love it. Hold the line, don't resign. Hold the line, don't resign. I need everyone, and Emma's forgive me for kind of like nudging. It's Majority Report's audience. I don't want to respect that, but every platform that I'm speaking to today, I'm speaking directly to the audience. We need you to go to social media with this message. Hold the line, hashtag hold the line, don't resign. Number two, if you know of a federal employee, maybe you went to high school with somebody and you just kind of heard that they work for the federal government, send this to them. Send this graphic to them. Send your own graphic. Make up your own meme. It doesn't matter. Get the word out. Hold the line. Don't resign.
Appreciate that message, and here on that front. One of the news stories that went under the radar, just to take a turn for a second, but it's also related about federal federal workers. Bradley, could you pull up this article from NBC? Saw this from 2 days ago. So apparently these federal health workers are being targeted right now by a conservative website. The headline is Federal Health Workers Terrified After DEI Website Publishes Lists of Targets. Let's just scroll down for a sec. Federal health workers are expressing fear and alarm after a website called DEI Watch List published the photos, names, and public information of a number of workers across health agencies, describing them at one point as targets. It's unclear when the website, which lists mostly Black employees who work in agencies primarily within the Department of Health and Human Services, first appeared. Offenses for the workers listed on the website include working on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, donating to Democrats, and using pronouns in their bios. The website, a government worker said, is being circulated among multiple private group chats of federal health workers across agencies, as well as through social media links. And if you could just scroll down a little bit to get to what the group is called. So you can see, no, that's right. Go down. Yeah, you can see they blurred out the faces, but this is an example. They changed it from targets to dossiers. They changed it because it was clearly an incitement.
Because they're trying to incite one of their Nazi followers to do something.
And the site, so on Tuesday evening, the site listed photos of employees and linked to further information about them under the headline targets. Later Tuesday night, the headline on each page had been changed to dossiers. And the article explains just a little bit further down that on the note at the bottom of the website says a project of the American Accountability Foundation. That group is a conservative watchdog group. It's not the first time the group has created such a list. In December, it sent Pete Hegseth, then the nominee for defense secretary, a list of names of people in the military whom it deemed too focused on DEI, the New York Post reported at the time. So a conservative group, the American Accountability Foundation, created a website to post the personal information of mostly Black health federal employees. Elon Musk had a little hissy fit.
That's right.
The other day, because saying that he would go after people, I guess either with criminal charges or with a lawsuit, either way, it doesn't matter, who posted the identities of his minions that are taking apart our treasury right now. But at the same time, conservatives are doing this for actual federal government employees and public servants.
Right. So we're in an asymmetrical war where they can get away with anything, with doxing, with actual violence. There was a shooting that took place in Maine, and the live video of the shooter indicated MAGA principles, MAGA beliefs, right? And so there's this asymmetrical war where they're able to go as far as actual violence against us, and we can't even retweet the names of these Doge henchmen who are getting it into all of our information. Matter of fact, on that same day that you're talking about, I had one of Donald Trump's new appointees as a federal attorney follow me as a means of intimidating me. And so our message has to be very clearly to them. One, we're not afraid. If you want to do this, let's do this now. And I really want to be careful with my words here, because it's not arrogance, it's not hubris. I believe that we must call their bluff now, whether they're serious or not. We have to call it now while we are still a nation of laws, while they still have to go through policies and procedures. They still have to work through the bureaucracy. They will have to explain why they are violating our First Amendment rights. So we need to shout as loudly as we can right now, make as much noise as we can right now, and let them know that we are not afraid right now, so that this doesn't go any further. And as far as these health workers, if there's any way that we can support them, if there's a way we can get social media support to them, because that is their new area of terrorism. They like to terrorize us by doing things on social media and sending their horde after us. And so we need to stand in the gap and make sure that we're protecting and encouraging the people who are out there for us. And,
you know, it's amazing to see them talk about lack of meritocracy via DEI, because when they use it, it's not like there's no nuanced critique there that people may engage in about like how best to do anti-racist work. There's using it as a substitute really for like the N-word. And when they talk about meritocracy, and then, you know, at the same time, let's put Pete Hegseth at the head of the Department of Defense. He has no experience, has like extreme issues in his past and skeletons in his closet.
The spokeswoman is 27.
Right. Like, oh, by the way, speaking of spokespeople, Tucker Carlson's son, Buckley, hired as like one of JD Vance's top press people.
What's his name got hired by Andreessen Horowitz to the
Daniel Penny.
Daniel Penny, yes.
So this is the meritocracy that they describe. They believe truly, and like when you unpack it, that the natural hierarchy is white men.
Yes.
And that's when they say meritocracy, they mean, no, we are naturally superior. And so that's where the merit goes. Duh.
Right, exactly. That's the fundamental argument underneath. This is the subtext. When they say DEI, they are essentially saying that the only people on the face of the planet that are qualified to do anything, literally any job, is a conservative white man. If you're not a conservative white man, you're not qualified. And so we need to call their card every time they say DEI. The lie that they're saying underneath it is that no one is qualified to do anything but white men. Here's the opposite side of it. We know for a fact we can put some of these black women attorneys, some of these professionals that they're calling DEI hires. They are the people who are sustaining their organizations. They are the people that are doing the most efficient job. They're the ones that are giving 10 times as much as anyone else. And so if we ever had a comparison of apples to apples, their very best against our very best, I fear that the MAGA is going to come up pretty short.
Yeah, well, that's like wish fulfillment for me to see that. But go ahead, Matt. What do you want to say?
There's a statement by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau Union, which is like a National Treasury Employees Union, 335. CFPB Union NTEIU 335 spies dodgy Doge bros. And look, I'm usually not for like the broligarch. I think you just call them tech, but it's a union saying it, so I'll defer to them.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., February 7th. Go to the actual, or I'll just read it. See if you can find. On the evening of February 6th, 3 minions of professional Twitter poster and Jeffrey Epstein confidant Elon Musk appeared in the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's internal staff directory. The 3 underlings are Chris Young, a lobbyist for Big Pharma and past field organizer for former Governor Bobby Jindal. I mean, oof. And Elon fanboys Nikhil Rajpal and Gavin Klinger. Rajpal led a libertarian students group at a public land-grant university at UC Berkeley and worked at auto lender Tesla and wannabe payment processor Twitter. Klinger interned at Twitter, claims he owns a Tesla, and graduated from UC Berkeley in 2020. When he's not stealing Americans' private information with Doge, Klinger enjoys writing lengthy essays defending rapists and retweeting white supremacists. Kliger's lawyer, Daddy, works at Experian, which is the same company CFPB sued in January for covering up errors on credit reports with sham investigations. While alleged coder Kliger, I don't know how to pronounce his name, made between 0 to 3 Git commits in the last year, workers at the CFPB returned $1.3 billion to scammed Americans in that time. I'm just going to continue. The unelected Musk recently announced plans for a new payments platform run jointly by Visa and X. Look at that populism, formerly Twitter. Now he's moved his power grab to the CFPB in a clear attempt to attack union workers and defang the only agency that checks the greed of payment providers as well as auto lenders like Tesla. CFPB union members welcome our newest colleagues and look forward to the smell of Axe body spray in our elevators. While acting director Besant allows Musk's operative to bypass cybersecurity policies and wreak havoc with their amateur code skills inside CFPB's once secure systems, CFPB union members fight to protect our jobs so we can continue protecting Americans from scammers with conflicts of interests like Musk.
Wow. Well said.
Yes.
That's amazing. I mean, there was also, I headlined it yesterday, that the federal workers union exploded in membership in the month of January. So the workers are, it seems, doing what you're saying, basically, Ben. They're standing up.
That's what we need, Emma, and we need worker solidarity more than ever before. And even if you are not a federal worker, chances are you know someone that is a part of this 2.2 million member tribe. They are the people that keep this thing, they keep the lights on. And they may not be the most efficient in the possible. I mean, sure, there's sometimes that our mail is late, right? But we're talking about an existential threat to the functioning of our government. MAGA is not up to the par. They won't have a public health system. They won't have public education. They are already violating the social contract. And this attitude, this from the CFPB union, that is the direct disposition. They need to just call out the foolishness, the incompetence, and the trash that MAGA is.
I guess to pivot a bit to foreign policy, Benjamin Netanyahu, war criminal, genocidal maniac, as Rashida Tlaib regularly refers to him, visited the White House and had a press conference with Donald Trump. And Trump said, just blurted out whatever he thinks, which is he tends to do. There was one thing that really caught my attention, and I don't think enough people are discussing it. Trump said that there were 1.7 to 1.8 million Palestinians in Gaza, which is down from the 2.3 million figure that had been cited previously. A lot of news outlets are continuing to run with the 40,000 dead number, which is so out of date and so misleading that it's frankly, by continuing to say it, I would say that you are complicit in shrouding this issue in and not being accurate, frankly, because we had a letter from 99 U.S. doctors and nurses back in October that said the number was at least 118,000. Lancet estimates at least 180,000 dead. And Trump, with the deficit that he describes,
that's right,
that could indicate 500,000. Yes. It could be less than that, but it could be up to that. And I think he's dumb enough to not know that that's classified and just blurt it out by accident. And I guess seeing Netanyahu smirking next to him, just like, what was your reaction, and how do you feel like we can move forward in advocating for Palestine in these next 4 years?
Wonderful question, Emma. And if I could take a beeline straight to the, I think one of the core matters here. I think it's important for Christians in the United States of America to realize that Israel, the state of Israel, founded, circa 1947, 1948, it is not the biblical Israel. We have no spiritual, I'm saying this as a Christian, and I know there's a lot of non-believers here, but I just need to talk to my Christian folks for a second. We have no spiritual requirement to support the state of Israel underneath the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu and the far right-wing Likud party, who are guilty of genocide. I lost track, and I didn't lose track. They stopped counting at 15,000 children. Emma, that's back when the numbers were down there by 40,000 total. 15,000 of that 40,000 were children. And now, yes, Donald Trump is most certainly dumb enough, but thank goodness, to kind of admit that there's a shortfall of 500,000 Palestinians, Gazans, who are either missing or dead as a result of our tax dollars, but most of all, the result of Benjamin Netanyahu. And one of the number one ways they get people in America to continue to support this genocidal regime of Benjamin Netanyahu is through Christians, Black Christians and white Christians, all believing that those people who are over there are somehow represented in the Bible. They absolutely are not by DNA, not by political lineage, and certainly not by their commitment and their covenant with God. They are evil. What they are doing is evil. You have a Christian mandate to oppose Benjamin Netanyahu. And so I think if we break that core, that stronghold right there, then we can break the pull that AIPAC has on the United States of America, but certainly that devil that is Benjamin Netanyahu.
And you saw, I'm sure, the pager that he gifted to Donald Trump. I didn't fully sit with this because it kind of came out when we were on air yesterday, but the golden plated pager that he gave to him, which again killed children, those pager attacks, it was mounted on an olive tree, I think, right? Wasn't it not? Was it not? It was some kind of
cedar from Syria, I thought. I'm not sure.
Either a significant tree. Sure. I think it was a significant tree for the Lebanese people. The colonial mindset of it and the nakedness is the pride he takes in it is just something that I feel like I was probably a little bit naive about.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm, someone that, of course, just like being white in America, you just. Like, I don't necessarily, you can afford to be a little bit more naive, I guess.
Yeah.
But it just, that level of depravity was something that just, it's a new low.
Emma, I don't want you to feel, no, you're not by yourself in that, I think the story is that we should recognize evil as soon as it shows its ugly face, even the smallest form, right? The occupation for all of these years should have let us know that they will be willing to take it to the next level, which is the full genocide and the full ethnic cleansing. And now Donald Trump talking about sending our troops. I am, and I say this really, really carefully, I'm grateful that there are a handful of MAGA who reject this. And so for all the handful of MAGA that reject this, I don't know that you reject it for the right reason, but I'm going to table that for right now. We need to all oppose the idea of American troops being on the ground. We need to oppose the idea of American taxes going there any longer. If you're going to stop foreign aid over to Benjamin Netanyahu and his genocide of the Gazan people.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, let's just talk a little bit about resisting Trump. I think that even some liberals, right, who may not are maybe MSNBC watchers or folks who don't engage in a more activist approach to politics, I think they're actually kind of starting to get really pissed off at the insane just ineptitude and lack of urgency shown by many Democrats. And we're starting to see a little bit of a shift. Can you pull up this quote from Brian Schatz? So Schatz, he was unsuccessful because they don't have the numbers. Like, these are the practical realities. But at the very least, he did an old school overnight filibuster to protest the nomination of Russell Vought to OMB, the Project 2025 architect. And he adds some great quotes here, which is like, it's finally, I feel like this, Chris Murphy's acting like he gets it. Schatz gets it more. This is what he had to say to Isaac Chotter, who's just what'd you say? Chotner. This may be the one time Chotner's interviewed somebody and the person has come out looking better on the other side. Like, he's done some incredible interviews with Israeli settlers and other things. But here's his quote about like the Democrats. He's talking about can you go up a little? Yeah. When he's talking just basically about how just scroll down. The Democrats should not listen to like the pundit class. He starts to name names. He says, what are you talking about with some pundit? Who are you referring to? Oh, David Axelrod, James Carville. I mean, those guys have not been in the trenches legislatively or electorally in a full generation. And there's a cottage industry out there of Democratic strategists. But in order to be a Democratic strategist, you actually have to do politics currently and not just podcasts about it. And then Isaac says you're referring to them criticizing what you've done around USAID by saying foreign aid is not good territory for Democrats to fight in. No, where's the second quote that I sent? Sorry. The part about the Foreign Assistance Act, the pundit brain. Yeah. Okay. So this is really the money quote that I was referring to. The Foreign Assistance Act, and then, of course, every appropriation bill that funds the State Department and Foreign Ops budget, they're ignoring multiple federal laws. And I'm just, excuse me for being quaint about this, but I'm not going to just gloss over that and wait until they touch the Affordable Care Act. That's the kind of pundit brain, poll-tested bullshit that got us into this mess. Right. We are constantly being told that something isn't polling well enough. And one of the things that Republicans do well is not allow their pollsters to tell them everything. They invent whole stories and then polling follows. And that's why we're focused so much on Russell Vogt, Trump's OMB director. He's clearly not a household name, blah, blah, blah. But that part where Republicans don't lead with polling, they act to change the national conversation. Right. Immigration, they've completely changed the scope of it within like the past 10 years. Yes. Like the Democrats have agency over public opinion and when things become popular by using the bully pulpit to advocate for things. And I guess I'm just curious, Ben, if you could respond to Iglesias, and even the Biden administration adopted this for a while, this notion of popularism, which they conflate with populism, but that we should just do things that are popular. Okay. Yeah.
Except Israel.
But by definition, right, except Israel. But by definition, that means minority rights are on the chopping block, because if you only do what's popular, you can't stand up for minority, that's in the definition, rights.
Right. Especially when you have an quote unquote opposition. And I use that almost rhetorically, right? They're more like controlled opposition. When you have controlled opposition that is not willing to put in the dollars into media or into the right type of consultants that can actually get this done and know how to do this, then you have an existential problem in democracy, because we have Democratic consultants. The entire Democratic consultant class are super rich consultants with email databases and bad practices. Period. That's who they are. That's what they are. They still get paid no matter what. Kamala lost, but somebody got a yacht out of how much money they took from the collective body politic of Democrats. What does that mean? That means that we need to oppose a Democratic consulting class as it is right now. We need to oppose them as much as we oppose MAGA, because they're in the way of politicians actually doing something smart and intelligent for a change.
And the media is frankly reacting in many ways to this as well. Like, that's why I prefer what Schatz is doing to what Chris Murphy is doing, where he's conceded completely on immigration. Trump's not being, he's lying about his tough on the border stuff. Or could we make a positive case for, we are a nation of immigrants. It makes our country better. They're trying to get you to blame immigrants, and we're saying it's the billionaire class. Then you can change public opinion on this issue, instead of just throwing your hands up and saying, well, Trump's going to make things bad enough so that public opinion turns our way again. That's not how you need to, that's not doing politics.
That is asking for us, that is leading us to the slaughter, right? This is so important right now. We can't even really waste time with the Democratic Party or the Democratic consultants. Let them figure it out as they go. I think the people really need to take matters into their own hands in terms of what is public opinion. What are we talking about? What is the national discourse? We have the ability to change that from the bottom up. We've seen it. Each of us have done it in independent media with viral videos throughout the years. Each of us have that kind of impact, because if we wait for these Democrats and these Democratic consultants to figure out how to fight MAGA, we'll all be lined up on the wall asking if this is your first time here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a really important point. There's a quote from Jane McAlevey I've read out a couple times here from a issue of Catalyst in 2018. Here's just part of it. In the U.S., the small margin strategy on the part of Democrats is what put Trump into office. This is, again, 2018. Idiotic and calamitous assumptions that Democrats only need to turn out 1 or 2% more to take this state or that congressional seat are spewed by Silicon Valley data wizards whose allegiance allegiance is to the new elite, not the working class. Small margins, gerrymandering, and all forms of voter suppression can best be defeated by learning how to build supermajorities in difficult conditions. And I also want to point to something going on in the New York Times, which is a guest essay. I think I got timed out from my New York Times thing, but it's a full column by, this is how Democrats can counter Elon Musk. And there's a section of it, yeah, here it is. Democrats must take care at this moment not to confuse tactics with goals. They shouldn't define themselves simply as Mr. Musk's operational opposite, leaving themselves defenders of a broken status quo. Their goal must be a muscular, lean, effective administrative state that works for Americans. This woman was married to a guy named Tim O'Reilly, who is basically responsible for turning the internet into a commercial free-for-all as opposed to a free software, more utopian thing. There's a great essay in the BAFTA called The Meme Hustler for tech folks who want to see how this is. So this is somebody coming from supposedly an Obama perspective, but really she's one of these tech people who agrees, like Jeff Bezos, this is not just a Musk problem. This is a capitalist problem, and that means it's a bipartisan problem. And these people will, if they have their way, will tell all of us that we're overreacting. That actually we do need to go along with a lot of cost savings for ideological reasons, and they are wrong.
They are wrong.
Entirely, completely.
Yeah. Ben, I guess lastly, I mean, what do you see your role is in opposing Trump here as a member of the press? Because that's Morning Joe and all of them bending the knee. I wonder if they regret that now, because they really underestimate Trump. Barely won the popular vote, and they acted like this was Reagan's, sweep the second time around. I mean, they just rolled over completely. And it was the party, but also members of the media and online media is not exempt from this. Yeah. I'm trying to find a way to bring more creators and folks together to give people a place to at least have catharsis and at best have a path forward to organize, as you talk about. But if you could just expand on this environment that we're in right now. I mean, I know you and I have both kind of had private conversations about this, but. Yeah,
no, I'm just thinking, my genuine answer from the bottom of my heart is that if I had as many YouTube subscribers as TYT, if I had 6 million TYT subscribers, if I had the hundreds of thousands of members that organizations like that have, if I had the pull and reach of MSNBC, I would be mobilizing the masses. Every single listener, every single subscriber, every single commenter, every person in the chat room, you are important right now. And if we had 6,000 people, if we just had 6,000 people go with a singular message on social media, that would move the dial. If we went with 600,000, that would certainly change the national discourse. But if we went with 6 million people that we have groomed and used over the last 20 years in order to become the biggest media platform in progressive circles, it is a bona fide movement that could stand in the face of MAGA right now, but we don't have that. And so we're going to need every single show, Majority Report, all the way down to my little show. We need all of our supporters to get out there and do it ourselves, change the discourse, no MAGA buyout, hold the line, do not resign, tell every federal employee you know, share it on every one of your social media platforms, text it to every single one of your text groups. Don't stop talking about it over this weekend in particular, because we are all that we have. We have to save ourselves, Emma.
Yeah, it really is a shame. We got to do what we can with our platform, but we're just so outnumbered on the right in terms of finances and resources. And I think a lot of us in this particular kind of independent media space, we're scrambling to come together because we have a fraction of their resources and of honestly their ability to pump Daily Wire to the top of the algorithm or whatever. It's just not possible. So in terms of TYT, it's a shame. I
don't mean to interrupt you, but Majority Report, you all are critical. One of the most impactful and influential. And even though, you all and none of us really have those numbers, what we have counts. And so thank you and Sam and the whole team there, Matt, all of you guys for standing on the wall like this.
Appreciate you, Ben. Everybody check out the Benjamin Dixon Show. over on YouTube. We'll put a link to that below. Good to talk to you.
Pleasure's mine. Take care.
Take care. All right, folks, with that, we're going to wrap up the first hour of this program and head into the fun half. Where we'll... Okay, so we don't have this fixed yet, right? The calls?
We might.
We might.
Yep.
We figured out the situation.
We haven't really tested it, but I'm feeling pretty confident. So.
Sam changed a part of the computer.
He completely changed Mac Minis on us. He upgraded to a Mac Mini that didn't have a microphone input.
Okay, so that's for people that were wondering what was happening yesterday. He did that after the show on Wednesday when we were all gone, so we didn't even know. And then we came in and the phones weren't working. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll try. Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Yeah, Left Reckoning, Alexander Avina talking about, everything going on with Trump, the border, Mexico, a little bit of Canada, and also USAID. And patreon.com/Left Reckoning. We want more patrons. Don't ask me why. On ESPN yesterday, we gave our final picks for the Super Bowl, and then also talked about the NBA trade deadline, the Doncic trade. YouTube.com/ESPN show. All right, guys, we'll attempt the phones, and we will see you in the fun half.
Okay, Emma, please.
Well, I feel that my voice is sorely lacking on the majority report.
Wait, look, Sam is unpopular.
I do deserve a vacation at Disney World. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Emma to the show.
It is Thursday.
Yeah, I think you need to take over for Sam.
Yes, please.
No. I'm gonna pause you right there.
Wait, what?
You can't encourage Emma to live like this. And I'll tell you why. So was offered a tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. So was offered a tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
What?
Tour, sushi, and poker.
Tim's upset.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. So was offered a tour, sushi, and
that's what we call it in the biz.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Right.
Tour, sushi, and poker.
We're gonna get demonetized.
I just think that what you did to Tim Pool was mean.
Free speech.
That's not what we're about here. Look at how sad he's become now. We shouldn't even talk about it because I think you're responsible.
I probably am in a certain way, but let's get to the meltdown here.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Oh my God.
Tour,
wow.
Sushi.
I'm sorry, I'm losing my fucking mind.
So was offered a tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Logic.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. Boy. Tour.
I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a kid.
Tour.
I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a little kid.
I had this debate 7,000 times.
A little kid. I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a kid.
Tour. I'm losing my fucking mind.
Some people just don't understand.
So I'm not trying to be a dick right now, but like, I absolutely think the U.S. should be providing me with a wife and kids.
That's not what we're talking about here. Okay, all right.
It's not a fun job.
Tour.
That's a real thing. That's real thing. Real thing.
Willy Wonka tour.
That's a real thing. That's real thing. Real thing.
What's that offered a tour?
That's a real thing. That's real thing. Real thing. That's a real thing. That's real thing. Real thing.
What's that offered a tour?
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Rogan has done it again.
That offered a tour?
That's a real thing. That's
poker with the boys.
I think he might be blowing it out of proportion.
Real thing. That's
poker with the boys. That offered a tour?
That's a real thing. That's
poker.
Let's go, Joey.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Take it easy, Glenn.
Tour, sushi, and poker.
Things have really gotten out of hand.
Sushi and poker with the boys.
Delusional.
Tour,
Deluded.
sushi.
You don't have a clue as to what's going on. Live YouTube.
Sam has like the weight of the world on his shoulders. Sam doesn't want to do this show anymore. It was so much easier when the majority report was just you. You were happy.
Let's change the subject.
Right.
Rangers and Knicks game, right?
Now shut up. You don't want people saying reckless things on your program.
That's one of the most difficult parts about this show.
This is a pro-killing podcast.
I'm thinking maybe it's time we bury the hatchet.
Left is best. Violet.
Tour.
Don't be foolish and don't fucking tweet at me and don't bitch. The way Emma has cucked all of these people, love it.
That's where my heart is. So I wrote my honors thesis about it.
Oh,
Sorry,
she
finance.
wrote an honest thesis. I guess I should hand the main mic to you now.
You are to the right of me on foreign policy.
We already fund Israel, dude. Are you against that?
That's a tougher question I have an answer to.
Incredible incredible theme song.
Hi, Bumbler.
Emma Vigeland, absolutely one of my favorite people. Actually, not just in the game, like, period.
We are back, folks. It's the fun half. We're going to open up the phone line, see how it goes. 646-257-3920. Retro the Robot. Is anyone working on an animation to go along with the Majority Report song? Well, I'm not sure, but we're grateful that like anybody makes any of this stuff for us, so I'm not going to
we don't
like,
solicit it.
get on it.
Yeah.
Free
labor.
Yeah, do it. No, it's I mean the song is just great. It's awesome in and of itself. Evan from Portland, in Jane McAlevy's honor, we just got our employer to agree to nearly open bargaining. All negotiations are being live streamed to members. Whoa.
I mean, really, if you're in a position in this economy where you are looking at unionizing, read everything that you can by Jane McAlevey.
Yes. Texas Left, I love that Ben is on this show. Great show today. Thank you. Prairie Fire Kowalski, to close with Ben Dixon on a lighter note, let him know that despite the impacts of inflation, I will continue to support him with the rotisserie chicken funding. If rotisserie chicken ever exceeds $10, I will march on Washington with the fury of John Brown. He will understand. Well, maybe, hopefully he listens to this later. Sorry, Kowalski, missed that earlier. MR13, hold the line, don't resign, and a giant fuck you to Elon and his incel gang of douchebags. Here.
I really enjoy unions calling out these twerps for having like lawyer dads and being like sort of freaks on social media. It's great.
Joanna, I just want to shout out to Ben in solidarity. So thankful for you, Rebecca. Majority Report, all the lefties in this circle. Thank you. Small D Democrat, there's got to be a significant amount of normal government employees who are huge Trump fans. Wonder how they'll handle it when they take the buyout, but Trump never pays it to them.
I mean, outside the FBI and like places like that,
yeah.
I don't know if people are supporters of Trump.
Because people who believe in government are going to be Democrats.
Aren't Republicans.
Yeah. Vermont Ben, Article 1 is clear and the Impoundment Control Act is law. Why isn't every GOP lawmaker and spokesperson not reminded of this every time they step in front of a camera? They're intimidated. The press. It's worked. All those lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits that Trump settled. Or they settled with Trump, I should say. That was essentially them bending the knee.
Yeah, I mean, Citations Needed did a story about how they're basically accepting the frame that it's about governmental efficiency, or whatever that means.
Right. Space London, can anyone please explain how our government is paralyzed to inaction by some guy just blocking the door?
Because it's not just some guy. Adam Tooze had a good episode about this, which is, like, people need to understand that Elon is going to take point on a lot of this stuff, but there is a appetite to destroy the administrative state that goes beyond just Bannon or Musk, but goes into Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg or all these freaks too.
And the Heritage Foundation.
Of course.
We played that clip, that video essay yesterday that I really encourage people to check out. It shows that the Project 2025 project is joined at the hip with this like tech feudalist kind of agenda. The dismantling of the administrative state and the government for these tech billionaires to loot it and, you know, in Musk's vision, build a utopia in his image. They found a way, and it's not that hard because at the end of the day, it's just like more casino capitalism. They've married those two, and that's the Trump administration.
And, you know, again, like, people talk about, what's his name? Besant mentioned the Reagan attempt to it and the Clinton attempt to it. I don't want to sound like I'm always blaming Democrats, but when you go back and look at how Bill Clinton went after welfare reform, we're in a basically in a 40-year period where politicians just take a butcher knife and walk up to the New Deal and take a big flank out of it. And at a certain point, like, we need to not just maintain things, but affirmatively reverse that trajectory.
Yeah, I think so too. And this, just wanted to plug this piece by Alex Shepard, who we've had on the show before and is a really good writer over at the New Republic. His first few paragraphs of this piece, I think, just like summarize this past 2 weeks pretty well. Elon Musk, the world's richest man, has seized control of the Treasury Department. He's deciding who the government pays and who it doesn't. The federal payment system he has access to contains the social security numbers and even the bank account information of nearly every American. It also has information about Musk's private sector competitors that he can now use for his own self-enrichment. Musk has given a handful of inexperienced young coders control over this sensitive system, where they can, and reportedly have, started to mess with its